Over the course of a century, there have been many generations formed in America. These generations include the Silent Generation, the Baby Boomers, Generation X, and of course, the Millennials. With Generation Z following, it appears that each gen looks different from one another. They each grew up in different time periods, experiencing different pop cultures, media, and lifestyle. Although each gen is different, they all have or will have to go through the same generation period. This period is called the Sandwich Generation. The Sandwich Generation is a period where a generation of adults, ages 40 to 65, are in a position of taking care of their own children and at the same time taking care of their aging parents.
I have one parent who's still alive, actually just a little bit over 100 years old. We were very fortunate in that she lived by herself and could take care of herself up until she was about 99 years old, which is pretty unusual. About a year and a half ago, we moved her into an assisted living in Metro Atlanta so that she could be around some of her children or be closer to us. So even though she is in assisted living and they take care of her day-to-day needs, we go to the grocery store for her. Well, I do all of her finances. So for the most part, there's a lot of stuff that we do that where we take care of her, even though she is in an assisted living.
My mom, who has recently passed, she was in her 80s and she could not drive. She did not have a driver's license, and my dad had passed away in 2001, so I would have to drive to my mom's house, pick her up, take her food shopping, bring her back, then go home. When I was home, I was a single parent at the time. I was also having to take care of my own kids. So my kids would come home from school and I have to get their homework started. I'd have to do dinner. It was pretty stressful.
I only have one parent that I'm dealing with at this point, honestly, because my father passed away. And my mom's a handful enough as it is. I am pretty lucky in that she is independent and she is 80 years old and is having a great time in Puerto Rico. But her memory is starting to be an issue because Alzheimer's runs in our family. We're worried about that because we're starting to see signs of it affecting her, yet she's being very stubborn and doesn't want to leave. At the same time, I'm sitting here dealing with a special needs child, and I also have a 21-year-old who's at UGA. So there's a lot that I'm juggling at the same time.
For me, the most difficult aspect was working out the support system over a distance of roughly 200 miles. My mother had an artery problem which impacted oxygen getting to her brain and the proper blood flow to her heart.
I think when you're in it, you're just doing it and doing it and doing it. You don't think about it. It's not until it's over when you reflect back and go, wow, that was really hard.
I think mainly it's sort of a time issue. When you're working and you work all day, when you get home at night or on the weekends, you want to try to relax. And so when you have these other obligations, oftentimes it's a strain. Sometimes it can be a strain on a marriage because my wife may think, why are you doing this or why are you having to do that? And, so it can just be a strain. It's a strain on your time.
The Sandwich Generation term was made by Dorothy Miller and Elaine Brody back in 1981. It was made specifically to describe women, ages 30 to 40, who at the time were sandwiched between their children and aging parents as the primary caregiver. As time went on, the generation name shifted to both men and women. Nearly half of adults in their 40s and 50s have a parent aged 65 or older and are either raising a young child or financially supporting a young adult. The U.S. Census Bureau estimates that by 2030, there will be more than 70 million Americans over the age of 65.
The advice I would give future generations is that you definitely don't go at it alone. You definitely want to reach out to other people to get help. And there are resources out there, but you don't want to do it alone, for sure.
You can get long-term care insurance, and that's probably something that you should look into buying before you reach that point. That's one of the reasons why my mom can afford a very, very nice assisted living, is because she has that insurance. So I would probably, suggest that to people. Nowadays, we're living longer, and if you look around the landscape, you can see the number of assisted living complexes that are being built in Metro Atlanta. I mean, they're everywhere. Obviously, they're very, very expensive, And I think most people, when you reach that age, you want to be able to live in a nice place. You want someone taking care of you. You don't want to be a burden on your children. And so, taking out that long-term care insurance when you reach that age that allows you to afford a nice assisted living is something that's probably very worthwhile.
As morbid as this sounds, is go ahead and plan and pay for a funeral. Everybody does eventually pass on, and making the decisions while you're still clear is my best advice, because when that aging parent starts to go downhill, you could be in this turmoil for years, or it could happen really quickly. You need to be prepared in the event that that does happen, and you need to take care of, we have a plan.
My advice would be to plan out as much as you can, and not only have a plan A, but a B, C, and D, and build a network of family and friends, but also professional people that can provide services.
No matter how many generations come and go, or how well each one adapts to society, they will all have to experience the sandwich generation period sometime in their lives.